Hey Fran, let's get into a bit of footage and then I'll talk through what I've done with the program. Yeah, I mean, pretty easy. Looks pretty smooth. Just got to get the hips that little bit lower. You start from quite a high hip position, so you're dropping the hips down, which is good. You're using that kind of that dive bomb start, which is good. Just the chest has got to stay up. So what you're doing at the moment is you're looking forward, and I think that's convincing you that you've pulled your shoulders back, whereas it's still rounded over. Okay, so always look a couple of feet out in front of you. Okay, so for wherever you are on one of the UOB platforms, look at the end of the platform, and that will give you a better idea for actually where your chest is. Because again, you could have your upper back rounded and still just do this and almost be, from a balance standpoint, bit out of focus, from a balance standpoint, because your head weighs so much and you've cranked it back, you feel more balanced. But what it's done is it's put the shoulders a little too far over the front of the bar. I mean, you just manhandled the weight, really, to be honest. It moved very, very easily. But there's definitely stuff to tidy up there. So pick a spot a couple of feet out in front of you, stay fixed on that. Okay, what that'll do is that'll naturally pull your shoulders a bit more over the bar. So let's see if we do it at the lighter weight. Good. Yep. So if we look at that one, missed it. Right, let's have a look. So you can see here at the moment, shoulders are just a little too far out in front of the bar. Okay, so the hips should be down that little bit lower, chest up a little taller. Okay, that's just going to bring everything at that little. Shoulders should be just out in front of the bar, but I think at the moment there's too much of what's called a moment arm between the weight and the front of the body. Okay, and again, if we go towards where your head is, you know, it's even further, and there's quite a lot to then have to all of a sudden like kind of lean back and like pendulum up. So you just correct that by just getting the hips that little bit lower each time. It looks much cleaner at this lighter weight. It's just when the shoulders are stacked that far over the bar, it's almost like you're basically doing like a stiff leg deadlift. Ooh, rude. Good. Yep. First foot down nicely. So the shake of the head on that one says it all. Okay, so with that you just threw everything into it. Okay, and squeezed your ass. Okay, it's all in the quads. It is all in the quads. Okay, so it's the toes have got to be pushing towards the end of the shoes. It's not heels down. Okay, in an ideal world I would get you to do this barefoot, but I know the floor in there is so off anyway, so you've got a better understanding for what's underneath, but the floor's so friggin' slippy. A good one, if you ever have a training partner, a good one to do is get them to stand at the tail end of the bench. Okay, once you've put your feet down and you've unwrapped the bar, tell them to put their foot up against yours. And the idea being to basically, you want to kick them, you want to slide their foot away as hard as possible. Now obviously in a competition setting you're not able to have like a block out in front of you, but what that might do is just give you something physical to actually like kind of knock away. Or what you can do is you can, if you can get one of the gym staff to, as soon as you put your feet down, put a foam roller at the end of one of your feet. And the idea being is that on every rep, you should be looking to not actually kick it and send it flying, because you will do, because that means your foot's lifted up off the floor. But the idea being to think straighten the knee. Okay, this, you want this to happen rather than, because if you were going to kick that foam roller, you wouldn't push your heel into the floor. You'd straighten the knee. You'd straighten the leg out to kind of ping it away. So, I mean, on that one, that was just a rush rep. It was just, as soon as your setup was fantastic. Remember, shoulders back as well. Really got to get those shoulders pulled back. But you know straight away. And if anything, that probably made the rep harder for you, okay? Because you shot the hips up and it kicked the bar quite aggressively up towards your sort of like upper chest. So that won't have done you any favours. Excuse me, sorry. Very nice and controlled. Very nice. Nice. A bit more touch and go than I would generally like, but I think that's fine. You weren't happy with that at all, but that's fine. Nice and controlled. Might start looking at just reducing the volume of the bench ever so slightly for you. Keep the frequency high, but still just reduce the volume ever so slightly. So again, with that one, the only thing that's making the top of that deadlift hard is from the start, with the upper back being rounded, it's basically you've made it harder for yourself to actually finish the rep off. So when we talk about sort of like the upper back being rounded over and stuff like that, there's a reason there isn't just vertebrae scattered all over the gym, you know what I mean? Because like it's not inherently sort of dangerous, or it's gonna, but all it basically is it makes the lockout harder. That's, as a coach, like that's our issue with rounded backs. So when we come into that, like what we've really got to focus on. Oh, just pause it 2 seconds. Right, sorry, I had a bit of an issue there. Right, so what we've got to do is really just got to focus on that starting position. Really got to focus on the starting position. Head position was slightly better, and the actual rep, it's like the thing is you are more than strong enough to be moving this weight comfortably. It's just a little bit of a rush at the moment. So at this point here, it should be slack should be getting pulled out the bar. Okay, you should be really pulling on nice and tight on the bar. Okay, trying to get the bar to move without actually using the hips and the lower back yet. So again, so you actually took the slack out the bar. The actual hip drop was pretty good. Sorry, this thing's choppy as hell. So yeah, the actual pull itself wasn't too bad. You dropped the hips down. You did actually take the slack out of the bar. A little late for mine. I wanted a little earlier. But it's just the upper back, really getting the shoulders kind of pinned back, chest up tall. And I think it's going to stem really from the head position, because I think what you're doing is you're looking up at the moment. And like I said, that's convincing you that the upper back is a little better. That's very smooth. Sorry, just some of these I'm actually having to look at them on my phone while I talk to the camera here, because WhatsApp is a pain in the ass. That's a super clean rep. Bravo. Yeah. Pause rep at an 8 of what your normal sort of competition squat is, which is very good. Now this one was 2.5 kilos shy of what you were aiming for. So with that one, when you're in that bottom position, elbows on that day, I think you're a little too far up the bench, and your elbows, if you see when you go to press. So in this position here, the elbows should just be ever so slightly further in front of the bar. They're a little too... So what you've done there is, as you've come down, you've flared your elbows out to the side, whereas we want them leading the way. So in an ideal world, we want your elbow just to be ever so slightly out in front of the bar. That then is for whatever energy that you drive back into, that's forever going back towards the rack, which is what we want, and taking a little bit of strain off the chest and shoulders. But it's 1 rep shy, and it's a couple of kilos lighter. So what I've done is I've adjusted your training max on your program. Where are we? I've adjusted your training max ever so slightly, and then what I'm going to look to do is over the next week or so is just look to just ever so slightly drop the volume of the bench a little bit. I think the bench seems to be the only one at the moment where we're just ever so slightly overcooked. So I want to keep the frequency high. I still want you doing some kind of bench 4 times a week. But I just think at the moment the bench volume is just a wee bit too high. So I'll look to bring that back and give you more of a chance to get recovered, okay? Because the session RPE is starting to ramp up that little bit as well, okay? So I will be adjusting that for you. Anything that you're not sure of, let me know. Overall, not too bad. But with the head, okay, I want you to pick a spot a couple of feet out in front of you, okay, and stay fixed there. All right, and then pull the shoulders back as you're taking the slack out the bar, okay? So it should be shoulders back, really kind of pulling hard, let the hips drop down, and then bang, all in one movement. Again, I just think at the moment what it is with chin up is, I think, because you know anatomy, okay? Like your traps are still very much connected to the base of the neck, well, the base of the head even. So kind of if you're putting tension by actually raising the head up, that's building up tension within the traps here, and it may be limiting sort of like your lat retraction, just because of the way that the traps are already like pre-contracted before you've even started. So it's one that you see semi regularly, and again, it's really focused on getting the shoulders kind of pulled back. Okay, so imagine there's a pencil in the middle of your shoulder blades, and you're trying to keep it there the whole time, and then the hips can keep doing what they're doing. The hips are great. Squats looking brilliant. I really like that pause squat. That was probably one of the better ones I've seen you do, and the belt looked good. Belt suited you. Try and get that on as often as possible, really, because I do think with that belt on, it looks a much cleaner reps overall.